People want to know how you feel about Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate? Okay, so I don't go into the core of Andrew Tate, but I guess the surface shit that I have seen, I guess like the core values, I agree with some of the things he says, because I guess from like a traditional-ish standpoint. But I think it's too extreme for what I believe in. And also I feel like it's like a business strategy the way that he does it. So part of me is torn. I'm torn at like, is this guy just like putting on this like facade to sell something, or is it actually believes in? So it's like 50-50. As far as the things that were claimed or accusations, I don't know the actual details, because I think at a certain point I was like, we're like grown people doing homework on this guy. I don't really care about what he's doing with his life.
Sure.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
I definitely think he's a sex trafficker. I think he's going to get convicted for it 100%. We'll see what happens. As far as his messaging, it's always like a really hard thing, because like I'll see some clips in long form where like it sounds like the meat of what he's getting at is like pretty good, and then in other things it's like like horrible. One of the things that I have like a really hard time with, I'm not like the traditional conservative guy to do it, but like I come from a Catholic background. Like I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I know what like traditional relationships work like, and I know what healthy traditional relationships are supposed to look like. One thing that I don't like is it feels like people co-opt, and I think Andrew Tate did this quite a bit. People co-opt these terms of like the hierarchical structure of a traditional relationship with the man at the top and the woman at the bottom, but the way that they speak about the role sometimes just comes off as so derogatory. Like even in a traditionally conservative relationship, like the man and the woman have a lot of respect for each other. There isn't this like the man at the end of the day might be the leader, but he sure is never implying that like my wife is submitting to me. Like that type of terminology is insanely cringe. And even in like the most traditional relationships, I don't think like people are even thinking in those terms, because again, like people typically have like their different domains that they're working in. So yeah, I don't know. I wish sometimes like people can come out and talk in favor of like conservative relationships, where even like the man is making like some important household decisions about where the family might live, if he's going to move for work or whatever, for stuff like that. But a lot of it just feels like a mask on hatred for like women sometimes, the way that they speak about it, which is like kind of cringe, I think.
I feel like it has turned into that, and that's why I keep saying I don't know if this is just like from a marketing standpoint for them, because it keeps them in business, or if they actually believe in it because they continuously surround themselves with those types of girls. Because I do recognize there's bad in the world. Like I told somebody, it was like, if you're gonna walk down a crackhead alley, you're gonna assume that's the entire world. That's just the alley you walked on. That's not the entire world. But to them, it's like, no, but it's the second alley I've walked on. But keep walking.
I say this in the U.S. all the time. Like if you go to like Chicago or Detroit or L.A., like there are parts. There are also really nice parts. It just depends on where you're at. You know, like Chicago is not like, you know, Fallujah. Like it's like a war zone. Like it just depends on where you're at, and that's true like in these spaces, and it's true of women and black people and men and white people and Americans and European. You have to gain like more experiences, so you're not like stereotyping everything. Like the average human needs like 1 to 3 experiences to stereotype like everything. Like a person will meet like 2 Indians that are rude to them and like tell their friends like, yeah, like Indians are just horrible people. It's
right.
Like, okay, yeah.
I think the people lack the compartmentalizing. That's really what it is, because it's like I've met a bunch of shitty people, but I'm like, I'm dumb enough to continuously try it again, to like maybe have good faith and build a relationship, because if not, you're always gonna like just assume that everyone is a racist or everyone's a piece of shit. And I think they also again lack creating that safe space for women to want to be vulnerable and be like submissive to them, because it can be, but I definitely realized like I pictured myself, okay, if I were to fix bridges, who would I apologize to? I would only apologize to people that I know would be logical enough to understand, okay, this isn't like malicious or being a piece of shit, whatever it is, or calculated. Like if I like when I wrote you the email, I was like, okay, this person seems very logical. Also, I just like to get off my chest in case I die. I'd like
okay,
the extreme thoughts of it. I was like, I don't want to have this in the back of my mind that I'm a piece of shit. So let me just do it. And I really don't feel like what I've learned is like, if I tried and someone rejects me, at least I tried. But majority of the time, if you're being calculated enough, you'd know that this person isn't going to reject you, because it's like they're not a piece of shit. But the guys in the space that recognize that even if you're down bad, if you were just like getting kicked on the ground, they'd continue kicking, and they would join, and they'd laugh, they'd spit in your face, and then like they're like, well, you're women, like you aren't submissive. Like I got called masculine on the valuetainment thing for saying that stuff to MLD, and I was just like, well, what was I supposed to do? Just like endure it? Like literally just sit through? I hate saying that word now, because like now it just reminds me of it, because I think that is a common word. How do you feel about the whole, I think where were we going back and forth about on that day? Oh, like, so relationships. So you were saying that relationships are, I couldn't think of the word at the time, but complementary. Do you think that's all relationships, or just now modern days? So they're always saying that men should lead the relationship. And how do you feel about that?
there, like, if I was outside of these spaces, there's a lot of things that I would agree with, but it just, the way that they talk about it is so like, and that it's hard to like take anything they say seriously. So for instance, somebody will say like men lead relationships. Like on a very, very, very macro level, that might be true. But when I hear somebody say that, it sounds like somebody that's never been in a relationship, because realistically, everything you do in a relationship is going to be like both partners making decisions with each other. Like for instance, like if I'm with my partner, right, and I've been dating / being married to people for, I think, so old, 16, 17 years now, I guess. I'm 34. I've basically been in relationships on 15, 16. Okay. Like I have never in my entire life ever had a conversation where I'm like, this is what we're going to do no matter what. This is the time to do this. We're not, like, your input doesn't matter. Like, we're going to do this. Like if somebody gets a new job and somebody's got to move, or if somebody's parents are sick, or if like, these are always decisions you make together. One. And then two, even in families, generally people's area of expertise are in like different domains. So for instance, when you think of like a father and a mother, even in a traditional conservative setting, you're like, well, the father's leading. It's like, the father's leading what? Like when the mom goes to the store to buy like food, groceries, or take care of the kids, or pick up the kids or take the kids to school, the father's not leading those interactions. Like the mother's doing that because that's her domain, you know? And then when the dad goes out and works and he's got to make plans for business or whatever, the dad's doing that, right? Like typically people aren't bumping heads in relationships. Usually you have like different responsibilities in a household. This is why like I always push whenever I'm on these shows or whenever I talk about things, like I just did now, always give examples for what you're talking about. And you'll notice on these red pill shows, whenever they talk about the man leading and they give examples, it's always some like Lethal Weapon, Mission Impossible shit. It's always like, if I've got to be the one to wake up at night and fight off 52 Nigerian smugglers coming to my house, or even Andrew Tate, if I've got to choose which path to walk home where there's gonna be the least amount of like, you know, highwaymen, and it's like, I don't know what types of lives these people live. I guess in those situations, yeah, there's going to be a leader, but like for 99.999% of people in 99.999% of situations, like people are generally working together to like make relationships work and to make decisions. Yeah,
I think that's why I keep saying it's ghetto. Like Pearl, I'm sorry, like her crowd is ghetto. The things that they're doing, it's very ghetto, because the ghetto mentality is like, you think you have to fight, blood and tears, everything resolves to fisting, and I'm just like, well, not that fisting.
That's right, yeah.
But yeah, no, everyone's very aggressive in this space. They think everything revolves to just life or death, and I'm like, dude, honestly, not everything in real life resolves to that. Like if you understood like life in general, a couple of word exchange, it would be fine to resolve the situation. But I don't know, I guess like now where I'm at now, I've evolved enough to understand like you guys are still stuck in level 1 or chapter 1.
And it's hard because like they have money now. Yeah. Like the reason why people are quick to fists when you're like arguing with each other is because sometimes your honor and your integrity are the only things you have, and you're willing to throw your whole life away because no offense, you don't have much of a life to throw away. But like when you're making like 6 figures a month sometimes on YouTube, like you've got $1 million, you're 32 years old, you got an audience, like you don't have to do this like ghetto shit. There's no reason to act like that. You've got so much more to lose, and eventually the problem is you're going to come up against people that have nothing to lose, and now what? Like yeah, it's just such a stupid way to live. Yeah.
Damn. I agree with that.
It's like sometimes people will start making arguments and I don't even know where to start because they're like so fantastic. Like I remember I was on a show once and with Fresh and Fit, and they're like, to truly know if you like a girl, you have to f her first, which is just like, I'm a horny person. I f a lot of people. That's fun for me. But that I would never say something that like, of course you know somebody before you f them. What a weird thing to say. And as soon as I brought up, because I was like, oh, like I think there's ways to know before. They're like, well, what? How could you possibly? And I was like, I don't know. Like if you have chemistry with the person, and like all of them started laughing, and they're like, what is chemistry, dog? And I'm like, what do you mean? Wait, what are you even talking about? or like them talking about like the whole like, oh yeah, like it's really well accepted that women will share a high value man. Like every woman knows this. So like multiple women will be okay, like all dating like this. I was like, no, what are you talking about? Like this, no, this doesn't happen. Like outside of like these spaces, you know?
It's a ghetto mentality. Like, everything they say, it's ghetto mentality. It's like a pimp mentality.
Yeah.
Like the type of girls that they want that are like innocent and impressionable they're not going to share the guys that you think they will. I mean, and if they do, it's more so not so innocent because she's probably a sugar baby or gold digging.
Yeah, that. Or it's like the types of girls. That's another thing that sucks too, is that it's because of the girls in these spaces. And with those types of girls, yeah, probably. However, dating to them is like you guys like once a week. And then like maybe you get a meal. I don't even know if they do that, right? But like it's literally that. Like these guys are untrusting. Like, yeah, you should never live with your partner. And it's like you guys aren't even like dating. It's not even like, yeah, that's it. I feel like I've been on multiple shows where I've asked like, what is dating to you? Because it sounds like dating to these guys is once.
Yeah.
Like I dated this girl. No, you didn't date that girl. You hooked up with her. Or like I'm dating like 5 girls right now. No, there's a few girls that you every now and then. You're not dating any of these women. Yeah, but it's just it's wild. And again, like to be clear, I'll reiterate again. if people want to say that they do this in this other their lives, whatever, that's fine. But don't present this as normal. It's like it's not. It's actually insane. Yeah, like it feels like sometimes like the entire red pill movement is based on like Andrew Tate's like YouTube videos. Sometimes we're like, oh yeah, like this is a normal way to live, and it's like, no, what are you talking about?
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.